After my husband gave me birth control pills for 3 years, I turned and ran to my ex. Married for 5 years, trying for a baby for 3 with no success, I discovered that the folic acid I'd been taking for 3 years was actually birth control pills. My husband turned around and had a child with someone else. In despair, I ran to my ex. We were trying for a baby for 3 years, and I never got pregnant. Until one time I took the folic acid in front of my friend Sarah, who is a doctor. She snatched the pills from me, crushed them into powder, feeling suspicious. This isn't folic acid at all. It's birth control pills. Listening to Sarah, I sent the pills to an institution for testing. It turned out I had been taking birth control pills for 3 years. Robert Hamilton gave me these pills, coaxing me to take one every time before we were intimate. Just as I was about to confront him with the lab results, I received a message in a mutual friends group chat from Jessica Miller. The picture was a stark positive on a pregnancy test. My husband, let's make a bet, shall we? Do you think I'll give birth to a little Robert or a little Jessica? I bet a little Robert. 2 minutes later, she pretended to be shy. Sorry everyone, sent to the wrong person. Can't unsend it, just pretend you didn't see it. I gave a cold, bitter laugh, finally shedding the last bit of moral restraint in my heart. I replied to the unfulfilled longing of my youth, in 1 month, I'll go with you. There was silence in the group for a while. Later, someone came out and asked, well, congratulations. When did you get married? Why didn't you say anything so we could come attend the wedding? Someone in the group initiated a money transfer, with a note saying a gift, via money transfer. Everyone followed suit and sent money. Jessica Miller sent 2 shy emojis sheepishly. Thanks everyone for the well wishes, please don't tease me, just pretend you'd didn't see it. How can we not? Even though you didn't invite us to attend the wedding, we can't forget our friendship. Exactly, you and Rob finally got together. As friends we should definitely wish you well. This group was Robert Hamilton's close friends from college. After we got our marriage certificate, he added me to it. He said, these are all my friends, it's good for you to get to know them. When they asked who Robert Hamilton had added, he just said, a friend. If it's a friend, introduce them, hook up the single guys. Robert Hamilton was silent, and I stayed silent too, lurking in the group. At the time, Jessica Miller had even snapped at them, don't act so desperate just because you see a woman. If you want one, go find one yourselves. The Hamiltons and the Bradfords were wealthy and influential families. Our parents had always wanted to arrange a grand wedding. But Robert Hamilton always said, I'm in the prime of my career right now, I don't even have time to prepare for a simple wedding, let alone a grand one. Let's talk about it later. This dragged on for 5 years. I had long given up hope for a grand wedding, it was fine with or without it. Robert Hamilton's friends in this group didn't know he was married, let alone that he hadn't married Jessica Miller, who was known as the golden couple with him back in college. The group messages kept buzzing, my phone clenched in my hand, constantly lit up. I stared coldly at the screen, tears separating from my soul, falling one after another. I didn't know how to vent the pain and resentment in my heart. For a moment, I had hoped Robert Hamilton would say in the group that it was a rumor. But even as they actively chatted, the male protagonist who was being frantically tagged remained completely silent. Jessica Miller accepted the gifts, thanks everyone, just consider it a gift for the baby. After the baby is born, we'll invite you guys out for a gathering. Everyone must come. To show your support then, thank you on behalf of the baby in my belly. Seeing Jessica Miller's intention, they were determined to have the child. My heart felt heavy and choked, so I opened the window to air out the room. Standing on the balcony, I took deep breaths of the outside air, my heart felt like it was suffocating. After the cold wind blew for a while, I calmed down, screenshotted the chat history in the group, and quietly left. I was still sitting lost in thought in the corner of the balcony when Robert Hamilton unexpectedly came home early. He pulled me up from the ground and closed the window. Sitting on the ground with the window open in the middle of winter, aren't you afraid of catching a cold? I stared at him fixedly. He seemed to be earnestly tidying my clothes, but I felt like the person in front of me was a stranger. Not like before. Was it because he had done something wrong, and he felt guilty too? I felt a bit repulsed and shifted my body, avoiding his hand. Don't touch me. He paused for a moment before daring to meet my eyes. His gaze seemed to label me as unreasonable, and he said lightly, is it because of that thing in the group? Liv, didn't we say before we got married that we only needed to satisfy our parents' wishes? Now they are very satisfied with our current situation, and I am very satisfied. What are you dissatisfied with? My marriage to Robert Hamilton had no affection, it was out of necessity. The Bradfords and the Hamiltons were long-standing family friends. I studied abroad from middle school, while Robert Hamilton stayed domestically. Our relationship was far less close than our parents, we didn't communicate at all. After I returned home, both sets of parents worked tirelessly to get us together. They even used every tactic imaginable, saying, "The two of you together is the best choice. We parents have paved a clear road for you, why do you insist on taking the unusual path? I'm telling you, I will never agree to that boyfriend you have outside. Unless your dad and I die." During that time, they focused all their energy on us. They confiscated our bank cards and phones, and stationed many bodyguards outside the door, doing nothing but watching me and Robert Hamilton. I had no choice but to break up with my boyfriend, fulfilling my parents' wishes. Before getting the marriage certificate, Robert Hamilton said indifferently, "We can consider ourselves allies. Just satisfy them, don't take anything else seriously." I knew he was still thinking of Jessica Miller, but I never expected him to openly cheat like this. And to prevent me from getting pregnant, he fed me birth control pills for 3 years. Although it was fake from the beginning, 5 years of being together, saying I wasn't sad was a lie, and saying I wasn't disgusted was also a lie. I asked him, "So you want to keep this child?" As I asked, I already knew the answer. If Robert Hamilton hadn't given his permission, Jessica Miller wouldn't have accepted the gifts from everyone. She wouldn't dig a hole for herself. Robert Hamilton clenched his jaw. "Liv, I want a child." I couldn't help it and slapped him across the face. Everything became so ridiculous, my laughter and tears burst out together. I walked into the bedroom, the lab results for the medication were still lying on the table. The diagnosis report from the hospital was there too. I angrily picked them up and threw the reports in Robert Hamilton's face. "Robert Hamilton, see for yourself. The folic acid you gave me to eat, it was birth control pills, wasn't it?" He suddenly became flustered, holding the 2 reports and looking back and forth. His voice trembled slightly. "Liv, you fed me birth control pills for 3 years, and now you're telling me you want a child. If you absolutely must have a child with Jessica Miller, you could have just told me properly, and I would have helped you hide it from our parents. Instead of disquis ing birth control pills as folic acid and tricking me into taking them. I can accept anything, except you hurting me." Looking back at the 5 years of marriage with Robert Hamilton, it felt somewhat unreal. Apart from being mostly polite and respectful towards each other, there were times when we got carried away. Sometimes, when he was drunk, he would cling to me, calling out "wife" repeatedly. "Do you feel happy with our life?" "I feel very happy." Then he would hug me tighter. When I went to make him hangover soup, he would pull me back, not letting me make it. Nothing is more effective hangover soup than having you by my side. Just stay with me more. At first, I didn't know if he was mistaking me for someone else. But as time passed, I gradually accepted it and willingly felt the smell of alcohol on him. He would occasionally give me small romantic gestures. On holidays, he would make both sets of parents very happy. He often held me by the waist at my home, saying, "Don't worry, Mom and Dad, Liv is wonderful. The best thing I ever did was marry her." Even though I always felt he was just putting on an act. But every time, I had this illusion that Robert Hamilton and I were truly destined to spend our lives together. Even if not as lovers, then as family. How could he be so ruthless, so cruel as to watch me take birth control pills for 3 years without saying a word? If Sarah hadn't found out, I would have kept taking them. His hand holding the reports trembled slightly, his gaze distant. He squeezed out words from his throat. "I was afraid you'd be sad. I won't make you take them anymore." Just 2 short sentences, no apology, no concern. Just the avoidance after making a mistake. I sneered, was he afraid I'd be sad, or was he afraid that if he told me the truth, he wouldn't get what he wanted? Robert Hamilton's selfishness and hypocrisy were spilling out. I just felt disgusted. "Robert Hamilton, you say it so lightly. Do you know how much Pa and I was in when I thought it was my problem and was so anxious I couldn't sleep?" I slowly took the hospital diagnosis from his hand and pointed to the result on it. "The doctor said I took too many birth control pills, and my hormones are messed up. It's very likely I'll have difficulty getting pregnant. You only want a child with the person you love, but did you ever consider that I should also have the right to be a mother? Now you're satisfied. You won't need to feed me pills anymore, and I'll still have a hard time getting pregnant." My voice became choked, and the tears fell even more than before. My body trembled with the force of my crying. "But we have no future together, Robert Hamilton. I hate you." After the pill's composition was tested, just to be safe, I immediately went to the hospital to get my body checked. Everything was so real, I couldn't escape the harm these pills had done to me. When the doctor said I would have difficulty getting pregnant in the future, I started to hate Robert Hamilton. Now, my hatred for Robert Hamilton reached its peak. I would never forgive him. I went into the bedroom and locked the door. Just then, the screen on my laptop lit up. It was a message from Leo Carter. He had been waiting for me abroad for a long time. Since we officially broke up, he had sent me an email every week. Now the email arrived as scheduled. I roughly wiped away the tears on my face. Pulling myself together, I read the email. It had a blurry picture of a black hole attached. Observed another collapsing star today, Liv. How have you been lately? I miss you a lot. After I retire, to prevent myself from becoming a sad black hole, I'll definitely return domestically and stay by your side. It's just too far away right now. My heart aches from missing you. Leo Carter grew up abroad and always had a bit of foreign dry humor. In the past 5 years, the emails he sent me had piled up into a mountain, filling my entire inbox. The photos he took for me, the sweet words he said, I backed them up separately, always afraid they would disappear over time. But I had never replied to him. For so long, it had been his solo performance. Because unlike Robert Hamilton, I knew I was married and had my own sense of propriety and honor. I always thought that with time, Leo Carter would slowly move on from me, but he didn't. I sat here, quietly browsing through the old letters. Memories flooded back. For a second, there were two little people fighting in my heart. My phone notification sounded. Robert Hamilton transferred 10 million yuan to my card, writing, I was wrong about this. This is compensation for you. When I saw that even this 10 million compensation couldn't extinguish my hatred, I finally realized that for the rest of my life, I needed to live for myself. Having come to this realization, I felt a little excited. I replied to Leo Carter's email, it's not far. Wait for me for a month. I'm coming to you. Since arguing with Robert Hamilton, we implicitly started sleeping in separate rooms. I slept in the master bedroom, and he slept in the guest room. But when I got up at night, I often saw the guest room door open and empty. He was probably staying at Jessica Miller's place. However, I no longer needed to care where he spent the night. I packed up my belongings in the bedroom and gradually arranged for someone to transport them. Leo Carter would receive them abroad. One day, Robert Hamilton bought me a gift. It was a diamond necklace I had admired at the counter for a long time. He also uncharacteristically brought out a bottle of red wine he had treasured for a long time and cooked a homemade meal for me. Liv, Grandpa's birthday is in a few days. Can we just put this aside for now? It was for the sake of appearances between the two families again. We were used to putting on a show at such big events anyway. I agreed, okay. Since Grandpa turned 70, his birthday celebrations had always been grand. We went to the best restaurant in Viridian City and the whole restaurant was packed with people. My family, Robert Hamilton's family, and many business partners and friends. Before going in, Robert Hamilton reached out his hand to me. I took his hand as usual. He separated my fingers and firmly intertwined his with mine. No matter how hard I tried to break free, it only made my finger joints ache a little. Seeing that I had settled down, he smiled contentedly and then stepped into the restaurant entrance. Jessica Miller also came. She was busy helping the Hamiltons with various things. The smile on Robert Hamilton's face disappeared instantly, and a hint of unease showed in his eyes. During the meal, the same old topic of having children was brought up again and directed at me. My mom and my mother-in-law went back and forth. Are you two pulling our leg? You've been married for 5 years now, and you've been trying for a baby for 3 years. How come there's still no news? Should you two go get checked? You must get checked. We'll arrange for you to get checked tomorrow. I want to see what you two are up to. My smile froze on my face. Thinking of what Robert Hamilton had done, tears welled up again. I lowered my head and lightly wiped away a tear with my pinky finger. Forcing a smile, I poured a glass of wine. Come, today is Grandpa's birthday, let's not talk about that. I wish Grandpa many more years, Grandpa. My mother-in-law took away my wine glass. We appreciate the sentiment, Grandpa. You're trying for a baby now, you can't drink. Rob, you can't drink either. Jessica Miller patted her belly, her eyes twinkling with slyness. She directly took my mother-in-law's hand and placed it on her belly. Auntie, Liv isn't pregnant, but I am. The faces of everyone at the table were momentarily awkward. She glanced at me. I mean, you will definitely be holding a grandchild. Maybe even 2. Rob is so healthy, you can rest assured. I glanced at Robert Hamilton. The frown that had just been on his face instantly smoothed out, and he looked at Jessica Miller with loving happiness. Jessica Miller poured me a glass of wine. Liv, were you scared just now? It's all my fault, I have a big mouth, please don't mind. She raised her glass. I want to apologize to you. Although you're trying for a baby, you haven't succeeded in 3 years, so drinking a little wine shouldn't matter, right? I didn't look at her or acknowledge her, but she just kept holding the glass. Robert Hamilton anxiously snatched the wine glass from Jessica Miller. You're pregnant, why are you drinking? Be careful with the baby in your belly. Liv, she's apologizing to you, it's rude not to drink, isn't it? My mother-in-law was about to say something but was interrupted by Robert Hamilton. Mom, you don't need to think she's so delicate. As a daughter-in-law of the Hamiltons, she should have some manners. Besides, Jessica is right, haven't we been trying for a baby for 3 years without success? Drinking a glass of wine is fine, what's there to be nervous about? I didn't know how Robert Hamilton had the nerve to bring this up. He made me so angry I was trembling, and I had to pinch my thigh to keep myself from losing control. Anyway, I was leaving today. As long as I could endure it, it would all be worth it. I suppressed my emotions and forced a smile at Jessica Miller. I won't blame you. Even if this child is Robert Hamilton's, I won't blame you. I raised my glass and drank it in one gulp. Jessica Miller's face became a little awkward. The dinner finally came to an end. Robert Hamilton went to see Jessica Miller off. After returning home, I took my ID card and took a taxi to the airport. All I left for Robert Hamilton was a divorce agreement. Before the plane took off, I sent the saved chat history to the family group chat. Jessica Miller's child is Robert Hamilton's. I'm divorcing him. After sending the message, I turned off my phone. I slept soundly on the plane. The plane landed at 7 o'clock the next day in the US. Leo Carter was waiting for me at the arrival gate. Even after so many years, it felt like we were together just yesterday. His appearance hadn't changed at all. He was tall, with sharp features, very handsome. The added sense of maturity and steadiness made him even more attractive. He stood out in the crowd. I spotted him right away. I quietly walked around behind him and tapped his shoulder. The moment he turned around, a smile spread across his face, and he hugged me tightly. After a long embrace, we finally separated reluctantly. Leo Carter looked me over. The smile on his face slowly faded, and his nose turned red halfway up. He cried out of heartache, Liv, you've gotten so thin after all these years. He pinched my face. Let's go. I've invited many friends from college, they're all waiting for you at my place. I turned on my phone, preparing to let my parents know I had arrived safely. The family group chat messages had already exploded with over 99 new messages. Robert Hamilton's messages were also rapidly flooding the screen, making my text messages lag a bit. I didn't open the group messages to read them, what they said no longer mattered. I was determined to escape. No matter what, I wouldn't go back. I swiped left on the chat box and deleted the entire conversation. But I did open Robert Hamilton's chat box, not because I couldn't let go, but because I wanted to see if he had signed the divorce agreement. I scrolled to the top, and his first message was, Liv, I'm not divorcing you. You wish. He had torn the divorce agreement into shreds and even sent me a picture. The floor was covered in scattered fragments. An entire page was filled with his voice messages. Liv, before we got married, we said we'd satisfy our parents' wishes. We've been playing along for 5 years, how can you just stop playing? Liv, you are playing dirty. You left me to deal with this mess. I'm going to your home every day to find you, you can't just not come home, right? His voice grew more and more agitated. I was too lazy to listen to the remaining voice messages and exited the chat immediately. Robert Hamilton's call came through at that moment. I hesitated for a second, then rejected it. He seemed to have gone mad, calling one after another. I had no choice but to take out the SIM card from my phone and throw it into a trash can. I had a blast the entire night with Leo Carter. Our friends understood and left before midnight, leaving just the two of us. We used the excuse of being drunk to pour out our hearts to each other. We drank bottle after bottle of red wine. Since trying for a baby 3 years ago, I had never drunk so freely. Now that I had finally broken the abstinence, I leaned on Leo Carter's shoulder and drank heavily until I passed out. The next day, after sobering up, I opened my laptop. In the 3 years I spent trying for a baby, I had lost my stable job. Robert Hamilton always said, our family is so rich, you just need to be a wealthy wife at home, why bother with a career? You're blessed but insist on suffering. I had initially been determined not to let family encroach on my career space. However, since I wasn't getting pregnant, I finally listened to everyone's advice, resigned, and stayed home to focus on trying for a baby. Thinking back on these things, I just felt ridiculous. I was so obedient to the Hamiltons, but Robert Hamilton was busy secretly giving me medicine. Who wouldn't say I was pathetic? I focused on updating my resume and submitting it to various job websites. I accidentally saw a post Robert Hamilton had published on a US news website. He had posted a statement in fluent English: "My wife landed in the new city on July 6, US time, but I can't find her. Please help guide me, provide any useful leads, reward is 1 million US due. Lars." My mom called me via video chat. I hesitated for a moment but still answered. As soon as she saw me, she started crying. "Liv, how long are you going to keep this up? Do you think we can't find out where you were just because you ran away? As long as you have any connection to your dad and me, we can call the police and have them help search for you. There are surveillance cameras everywhere now, you can't run far. Now Rob has gone abroad to find you. We can talk things out properly." Seeing her like this made me furious. I had been trying to talk things out with them properly all along, but had anyone ever seriously considered my needs and feelings? They forced me to marry Robert Hamilton, and now they were going to side with the Hamiltons and try to bring me back. But I was used to it, used to my overly controlling parents. I said coldly, "I'm very safe right now, don't worry. It's impossible between Robert Hamilton and me. I've already entrusted a lawyer domestically to handle the divorce proceedings for me." My mom began to talk. "Rob's dad is very angry. He made him kneel outside all night after you left. He said if he didn't bring you back, he would kick him out of the house. As for the child Jessica Miller is carrying, the Hamiltons said they won't acknowledge it even if it's born. Liv, our two families have always been each other's right-hand men. Don't do something so drastic." The whole family started putting on an emotional manipulation act. I didn't care how much Robert Hamilton was punished. Right now, all I wanted was to live the life I wanted. I didn't want to live in a sycophantic environment anymore. Nor did I want to see Robert Hamilton's face again. My eyes welled up with tears, and my voice choked before I could even speak. He's the one who did wrong, not me. If you're worried about the two families' reputation, you can disown me as a daughter of the Bradfords. If I'm not a Bradford, you won't be embarrassed because of me. You'd best convince the Hamiltons to acknowledge Jessica Miller's child, because I will never have a child for the Hamiltons. After saying this, I hung up the phone without hesitation. I blocked the family group chat and all of them. They forced me to do this. The internet quickly dug up that the person who posted the search for his wife was the CEO of Fonley Group. Photos of Robert Hamilton and me spread widely online. The news occupied foreign and domestic news websites. It was a scandal spreading internationally. Many people commented, "This is the biggest drama of the year. The CEO's wife actually ran off with someone else. CEO, you're so rich and still couldn't keep your wife?" The comments section was filled with dark humor. I was too lazy to respond. Robert Hamilton's plane landed in the US, where business partners were waiting to pick him up. Meanwhile, I was trapped at home because of the overwhelming news, unable to go out. Robert Hamilton came to find me on a rainy day. I was fully covered, returning home from the supermarket with Leo Carter. Visibility was low in the rain, and with the two of us sharing an umbrella, we didn't see Robert Hamilton clearly at all. But he firmly knocked our umbrella away and punched Leo Carter. Blood slowly seeped from Leo Carter's lip, mixing with the rain. I pushed Robert Hamilton. "What are you doing? If you're causing a scene, I'm calling the police." Robert Hamilton wasn't holding an umbrella, his hair was plastered down by the rain, and his clothes were soaked. Rain rolled down his face. He wiped his face and yelled, "Liv, you want to call the police? Who doesn't know you're my wife? You traveled all this way to this place to find a man, and you think you're in the right?" He gave a cold laugh. "I wondered why your heart was so hard. Turns out you found a new target? Do you have any idea what I've been through these past few days?" I lifted the corner of my mouth mockingly. He landed in the US and was greeted by business partners, treated well with food and drink. Both domestic and foreign news outlets concluded I was cheating and Robert Hamilton was innocent. I didn't step forward to explain myself. Instead, I was chased and cursed, with some even calling the unfaithful woman like me to die. Even going out required being fully covered, sneaking around like a convicted criminal, afraid to be seen. But he, on the other hand, was in the wrong first, yet had the nerve to come here to confront me. "Robert Hamilton, Jessica Miller is pregnant, you should take good care of her. Don't waste your energy on people who have nothing to do with you." Robert Hamilton frowned and grabbed my shoulder in a rage. Liv, are you even speaking human language? Leo Carter pushed him away and shielded me behind him, but he still wanted to punch him. Although Leo Carter was an astronomer and didn't usually engage in physical activities, his body wasn't weak. He grabbed Robert Hamilton's incoming fist and seized the opportunity to punch him back. Robert Hamilton took the hit and muttered, "What are you, daring to hit me?" They were fighting in the rain, soaked in muddy water from the ground. I watched them coldly. Robert Hamilton wasn't getting the upper hand at all. Fearing the situation would escalate, I tried to separate them, but Robert Hamilton's suddenly thrown punch hit me, making me dizzy. I sat on the ground, unable to move for a long time. Liv, wife. Robert Hamilton's eyes were no longer as wild as before, clearing up quite a bit. He came to touch me, but Leo Carter pushed him away. I told Robert Hamilton, I didn't intend to cheat. I left the divorce agreement for you to sign before I left, but you refused to sign. Why can you seek out your past love during our marriage, but I can't? Robert Hamilton, there wasn't much affection between us. We were just together for a long time and got used to it. Go home, sign the divorce agreement, and stop bothering me. Leo Carter helped me up from the ground. My thigh hurt quite a bit from the fall. I gritted my teeth and walked with difficulty. Robert Hamilton suddenly knelt on the ground and grabbed my leg. He choked out, begging me, "Wife, I was wrong. Come home with me. I promise you, I'll cut ties with Jessica Miller. You cut ties with him too, okay?" I dragged my leg and continued walking. He said again, "I don't want the child either. I just want you back. Let's live our lives together properly." I looked down at him. A layer of mist formed in his eyes, and I couldn't tell if it was rain or tears falling on his face. This was the first time I saw him shed his usual coldness and show emotion like a living person. It was also the first time I saw him discard his dignity and beg me so pathetically. His eyes were complicated, perhaps with a hint of weak sincerity, but we couldn't go back. Not after he tricked me into taking birth control pills disguised as folic acid. This time, it was my turn to kick him away, leaving him kneeling in the rain. I walked away without looking back. Leo Carter took me to the hospital. My leg had been severely impacted and was diagnosed as a bone fracture. So the doctor put a cast on it and told me to go home and rest. Every day when I was bored, I would look down and see a figure kneeling downstairs. People walking by took pictures of him and posted them online. Another wave of public opinion arose. I still went downstairs to see him. A hint of surprise appeared in his blank stare, and he got up and hugged me. He held me tightly. "Wife, I knew you wouldn't leave me. We've lived together for so many years. It's not something you can just break off. Saying we don't have feelings is just deceiving myself." I pushed him away hard and smiled bitterly. "So you're deceiving yourself?" It was just a mocking remark. I didn't expect an answer. But he nodded seriously, grabbing my shoulders. "Yes, I admit it. Liv, I love you. The reason I was deceiving myself that I had no feelings for you was because I felt guilty towards Jessica Miller. Now I realize nothing is more important than you. Without you, my world has gone dark. I haven't been this miserable on any day before recently. Back then, my parents broke up Leo Carter and me. Robert Hamilton's parents broke up him and Jessica Miller. But I have to admit, Jessica Miller was clever, constantly bringing gifts to try and please the Hamiltons. They didn't want Robert Hamilton to be with her, but they didn't dislike her either. That's why she was so brazen at Grandpa's birthday party. And my Leo Carter, due to his work, stayed in the US. I was confined at home by my parents, and there was nothing I could do. Robert Hamilton said he felt guilty towards Jessica Miller, and I believed that. But when he said he loved me, I didn't believe it at all. Love is something you can feel. This time, it was my turn to beg him. "Robert Hamilton, can you stop this, please? You've already made me fall into bad public opinion for so long. I beg you to stop. If you really love me, divorce me and set me free. Otherwise, saying you love me is the funniest joke I've ever heard." Just then, Robert Hamilton's phone rang. He frowned impatiently, but the look in his eyes towards me was guilty. Seeing him like this, I could guess with my toes whose call it was. Robert Hamilton held his phone. "Wife, I'll prove it to you right now." He answered the call, and a fragile female voice came from the phone. "Rob, our baby is kicking me in the belly. Do you even want the baby anymore? When are you coming back? I know you went abroad to find her because of your family's relationship, but if that horrible woman is being unreasonable, don't force it. You'll get divorced eventually anyway." Robert Hamilton looked particularly angry. He spoke in astonishment, making me tremble. "Jessica Miller, I advise you to show some respect. Liv is my wife. You're the horrible woman I'll tell you directly, I'll arrange for someone to take you to the hospital to get an abortion. Liv and I will definitely not divorce. You wish. He hung up angrily and then really called his assistant. Take Jessica Miller to get an abortion. If it's not done today, you can forget about your job. It turned out Robert Hamilton's love was always this cheap. Even towards the woman he liked before, he could instantly turn his back on her. He was even more terrifying than I imagined. The moment he angrily smashed his phone, I firmly went back inside the home, unwilling to say any more nonsense to him. That evening, Jessica Miller exposed the fact that she was carrying Robert Hamilton's child but was being forced by him to get an abortion. To nail him, she didn't hesitate to ruin her own reputation and released audio of them in bed, along with photos of them together. For Valentine's Day, he took her on a trip abroad, dating on a luxury cruise ship. In the photos, Jessica Miller was holding flowers, surrounded by jewelry Robert Hamilton had given her. Robert Hamilton was kneeling on one knee, a happy smile plastered across his face. And at that time, Robert Hamilton had told me he was on a business trip. He even felt guilty for not being able to rush home to be with me for Valentine's Day and transferred a lot of money into my account. He asked both sets of parents in the family group chat, "I'm busy with work and can't come home to be with Liv. Mom and Dad, please help me keep her happy." He gave my parents a lot of money and told my parents to take me on a vacation. He was always generous with money because he wasn't short of it. Although my parents returned the money to him, they were also amused by him. "Don't worry, Rob, you focus on your work, we won't neglect Liv." Now I finally understood why. Even though he was the one who betrayed me first, my parents still called and told me to consider the bigger picture. Robert Hamilton was a great actor in everything except for having no love for me. And precisely because of the family's reputation, and his dedication to my family over the years, even if it was an act, I wouldn't have said anything bad about him. Jessica Miller commented on social media, "Why does the later comer always win? Robert Hamilton and I were together since college, but everything changed after Liv came back. She stole him away from me. I can't accept it, and I can't give up Robert Hamilton. I'm carrying Robert Hamilton's child. I don't think I'm wrong, but I don't understand why Rob would abandon this child. Rob, you're a little too cold-hearted." Jessica Miller's comment section was flooded. Public opinion about me instantly reversed. I thought Robert Hamilton was so devoted, I was almost fooled. "But you're a third party too. They deserve each other, stay away from innocent people." Fongli Group was affected. Large numbers of reporters appeared at the entrance of Fongli Group, and even my family's company was swamped. Usually, my dad and Robert's dad only appeared in business news. Now, reporters surrounded them, shamelessly asking about private matters, causing both of them to frequently scowl and refuse interviews. Robert Hamilton was urgently called back to handle company affairs. My dad and my mom, however, rushed to the US overnight, determined to take me back even if they had to tie me up. I cried and knelt on the ground. "Mom and Dad, Robert Hamilton was in the wrong first. Why are you so stubborn?" My dad trembled with anger. "Even if it wasn't Robert Hamilton, it shouldn't be him." He pointed at Leo Carter. "If you have to find someone from the right background." He scanned the apartment. "Not stuck suffering in such a small place." Leo Carter's place wasn't small, it was in the commercial district/downtown, just a regular apartment building. In the eyes of my dad, who was used to living in large villas, living in an apartment building was noise. Why and the people were complicated. I knew that in his heart, Leo Carter was an incapable person. My dad was someone with a superficial view. I was too lazy to explain to him. What Leo Carter did was the most romantic thing in the universe. Even with his many awards in his field, my dad wouldn't understand. I gave a cold laugh. "Don't you just want me to have an arranged marriage for your business interests? Don't make it sound so good, saying it's for me. It's just for yourselves." He slapped me across the face. The burning pain made it hard to open my eyes. My eyes were swollen. This was the first time he had hit me. I screamed hoarsely. Not only did Robert Hamilton cheat, he also fed me birth control pills for 3 years. I'll have difficulty getting pregnant in the future. Are you satisfied now? My dad frowned. What did you say? I told him word for word. For these 3 years, Robert Hamilton swapped the folic acid he gave me to eat. Do you understand what I'm saying? If you don't believe me, you can ask Robert Hamilton, or you can ask the doctors at Central Hospital. I have the diagnosis report there. My mom suddenly hugged me and burst into tears. After crying, she exchanged glances with my dad and left in a hurry. They never forced me to go home again. Instead, they contacted my lawyer to help me divorce Robert Hamilton. The lawyer told me my parents went to the Hamiltons and told Robert's dad and Robert's mom everything. Robert's mom was so angry she fainted on the spot. Robert Hamilton knelt on the ground, and Robert's dad beat him with a stick until he collapsed before sending him to the hospital. My parents seemed to have finally understood. They didn't fall for their emotional manipulation. They declared, if Rob divorces our daughter, we can avoid exposing this matter of you harming our daughter to the public. If you don't divorce, we'll have no choice but to make this incident public. Liv has been with you for so long, even out of respect for our families, how could you be so heartless and treat her like this? You're unethical, so don't blame us for being unethical. This was the first time I saw my parents standing by my side, and I smiled with relief. The lawyer said, Robert Hamilton has agreed on his end. He said he wants to see you one more time. I said coldly, no. There's nothing left to say between him and me. Robert Hamilton signed the divorce agreement from his hospital bed. When my parents came to me and Leo Carter with the good news, I was so excited I almost jumped. My mom asked me excitedly, guess what other good news we have for you? My parents were difficult to understand. I had never been on the same wavelength as them, so I shook my head blankly. My mom said, your dad and I are both planning to retire and move here to live with you. I widened my eyes in shock, forcing a stiff smile. I felt a resistance deep down. Even though my parents were smiling happily when they stood in front of me, I always felt afraid, crushed by their control. My mom said, I'm kidding, look at your face. Your dad's company still has so many affairs waiting for him, how could he come here? We're here for a vacation this time and incidentally, to test out. She looked at Leo Carter. I cheered and hugged my mom, Mom, you're the best. The Hamiltons seemed to be in turmoil, embroiled in rumors. Robert Hamilton was for a while after the divorce. He stayed indoors and didn't go out, handing over many of the projects he was in charge of to others. Jessica Miller, like Robert Hamilton, used to wait for me at the door, waited outside the Hamiltons' house every day, constantly begging Robert Hamilton to marry her. Reporters captured photos showing Robert Hamilton had lost a lot of weight, and with a weary look in his eyes, he pushed Jessica Miller to the ground. But for some reason, not long after, news of their wedding came from the Hamiltons. My parents stayed for 2 months and saw the news of their wedding. They insisted on going back to attend their wedding. Before they left, they called me and Leo Carter over. Mom and Dad agree to you two getting married. But Leo, you must make my daughter happy. I had been waiting for this day for a long time. The day after my parents left, Leo Carter and I got our marriage certificate. After continuous treatment, I finally gave birth to a daughter 3 years after getting married. The girl had big, blinking eyes and looked like me. Leo Carter kissed my forehead. She looks like you, beautiful wife, you worked hard. That day, the news about the Hamiltons stirred up everyone again. Jessica Miller simply left a message on social media. What you don't know is, a few years ago, Robert Hamilton emptied the folic acid bottle and fed his wife, Liv Bradford, birth control pills for 3 years. I saw the news and shook my head helplessly. The truth always comes out, but I was no longer interested in what others said. I looked at my daughter playing in the crib and my husband making baby formula for her. My husband, I want pizza. He nodded. I'll make it for you after I finish the baby formula. Finding Leo Carter again was the best thing I ever did in my life.